Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to my channel. As you guys can tell from the title of today's video, I'm filming my TBR. Now, when it comes to my TBR from last month, there were 4 books that I did not finish for my TBR, but I'm actually moving away from them. I may try to pick them up this month. I don't know. It depends on how long this video actually is and how many books I actually put on my TBR. I got a new planner and I've been keeping track of everything and I'm super excited about it. I actually talked about it in my vlog, which you guys will see next Monday, but I wanted to sit down and talk to you about the books that I have chosen to read for the month of April. April, if you're not aware, is probably my least favorite month of the entire year. It's a month where, for me, it's like not quite winter, which winter is a season that I truly do love depending on where I'm living at the time. Ohio winters aren't the best, but it's kind of in between, like, is it winter? Is it spring? Like, Ohio does not have its shit together, so it's a very back and forth kind of month for me. So I wanted to keep my TBR a little bit more cozy, and you'll see what I mean by that as I get started. If you saw the video that I put up yesterday, I am still sick. I'm filming this the exact same day, so if my voice squeaks or anything like that, it's because I'm still dealing with a head cold, so my throat is a little bit kind of like stuffed up. Enough rambling, however, I'm going to get into the books that I chose for my TBR. Now, one thing that I wanted to focus on this month as well are shorter reads. I want things that I can kind of keep with me at work because I am going to be working long hours that I can kind of read in an afternoon. So starting with that, and also keeping with the theme of reading books that I own, I have a ton of library books here, but I want to start also reading books that I actually have on my shelves. I have not been purchasing books recently. I've been primarily borrowing them, and my goal is to not really start heavily purchasing books again until I am able to actually get through all of the books that I own. The unhaul that I did, I think like a week or two ago, I'll put it up on the screen for you guys, is probably the last bit of books that I don't think that I will ever get around to. So getting to the books I actually own that I do want to read, I have the Full Metal Alchemist Full Metal Edition. This is a manga. I'm really excited to read this. This is obviously just the first edition, the very first like in the series of the special editions they came out with. I think they're all the way up to 4 right now, but I only own the first one. Wow, my voice is awful. I'm so sorry, but I'm really excited to read this. This is a series I have seen in the anime and I do really enjoy it, but I do want to experience it in manga format. And this edition is just absolutely stunning and beautiful, and I cannot wait to read it. I think that these are some of my very favorite characters in an anime ever. And like I said, I've been wanting to rewatch it. I've been watching a lot of anime recently, but I do want to experience it in a completely separate format. Also, just so you're aware, I'm going to keep these descriptions pretty brief because I do list all of these books in the down bar. And for me, I tend to want to go in a little bit blind when it comes to books that I want to read. So if you want any more information on any of these books, if they look interesting, you can find all of that in the down bar of this video. So the next few books that I have here are actually comics. The first one I want to talk about is one that I believe I've seen a couple of people rave about, and I've heard some also negative things about it, but I've had it for a really long time and I think it's just time to read it. It'd be Low Volume 1. First off, this is stunning. The art in this is so interesting. It's like, obviously it looks like it's hand drawn and there's like a lot of thought put into it, and I love that. I love books like that, so I'm really excited to read this as well. All I really know about this is that it does take place underwater. I believe it's like an underwater civilization. I believe the atmosphere above like sea level is kind of ruined and wrecked and no one can really live up there, so they have kind of set up a life for themselves down below. I've heard it's kind of creepy, I've heard it's kind of brutal, and honestly I'm 100% okay with that. I cannot wait to get around to reading this month. The next book I have here is another comic book. I've had this one for a while. I don't really know too much about what this is about, but it has become highly recommended to me from people who have read it, who have said that they think that I would really enjoy it. It would actually be Bitch Planet. This is obviously the first volume. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about this other than this is very like woman-centric. Like this is a lot about women. Like I believe they are more in power, and I believe that it's mostly about like supporting women and kind of like looking down on men in a way, if I'm not mistaken, but I've heard it's done really well. It just sounds like something I'm gonna enjoy. I like opposite, you know, like reading something that's completely opposite to the life that I actually live or the world that I actually live in, and I think that's why this really appeals to me. I also really like the art style. It's done in a kind of like older comic art style in a way. Like it's not the most like drawn by computer. It looks very kind of choppy in a way, and I'm just really drawn to this for some reason. If you've read this, let me know down below what you thought of it, because I've had it on my shelves for a very long time and still haven't picked it up. The next one that I have here, I think I've seen G talk about this a couple of times, and it would be Monstrous. This is obviously volume 1. A subscriber actually sent me volume 2 a while ago, so I do want to actually read this finally. It's pretty thick for a comic book, but I'm really excited for it. It kind of gives me Nevernight vibes, and I don't know why. Probably because from what I've heard, this is more of like a she's a murderer, like brutal kind of like female main character. And I don't know, it just seems like something that I'm really going to enjoy. As you guys know, I've had a lot of life changes recently, and I'm trying to make my way back from them, and I've been reading a lot of fluffy stuff. So I'm trying to slowly introduce like the horror thriller kind of genre back into my life, and I am going to start with comic books for that. And it sounds really cool, and it sounds really interesting. And like I said, the art is beautiful in this. This is some of the best comic book art I have ever seen, so I'm really excited to read this as well. Now I'm going to get into the library books that I have, if I can grab them. There are a few. Here's one that I have already decided that I'm going to be starting with, and it'd be Fatal Alliance by Sean Williams. This is the next book chronologically in the Old Republic. If you guys are not familiar, I really like Star Wars. I'm really loving these books. They're written by completely different authors every single time. I don't really know what this one is about. I don't want to know. I really like just reading them in chronological order and seeing kind of how the stories go together and like the timelines go together, and that really excites me and keeps me wanting to read them. So this is going to be the next book that I probably start with this month. Like I said, it is an Old Republic book. This is Star Wars, if you guys want to follow along with that. I spoke about one in my wrap-up. Obviously, I've also read Revan. I'm 3 into the entire series, and if you guys want to read them with me, there are in the front of all of these books a kind of chart that tells you the best way to read all of these books to get the best experience, especially when it comes chronologically. So I'm really excited to get into this one this month as well. I've been loving Star Wars and Star Wars books and just the whole Star Wars universe again. So I'm really excited to delve even deeper into this book this month. Now the next book I have here is a book that I blame Jade for. Jade got me into this series, JD Rereads, and I was like, I read the first one and I was kind of confused but really intrigued, so I was like, I'm gonna read the second one. It'd be Authority by Jeff Vandermeer. This is about an area of a planet that is inhabited by, you find out, kind of inhabited by other kinds of like creatures in a way. Like I said, the first one is very, very confusing. It's called Annihilation, but I've heard this one is like in the future, or there's like completely different cast of characters. I don't friggin' know, but I'm really excited to read it anyway. Like I said, it's not I wouldn't say it's the best written in a way. It's very kind of confusing at times, but the story is so goddamn intriguing that I just like, I want to know what's happening. Like I want to read the whole series because I need to know what's happening. And I don't know, it always like piques my interest, even though it is a bit wonky and is a bit weird. Like I'm at the point where I'm just like, I don't even care. I just want to know kind of what's going on. Like it's definitely one of those books. There's a fine line between, you know, books that are confusing, you don't really care about, and you don't really like want to keep reading. Like that's how I feel about a lot of Maggie Stiefvater stuff. But for this, even though it is kind of confusing, I think the storyline is really interesting, and I'm hoping that eventually everything starts kind of coming together and making a bit more sense. I feel like it's a very involved kind of series, and I'm really excited to get around to reading this one. Also, the cover is just beautiful. Now, the last physical book that I have, I decided that I wanted to add a giant book to my TBR. This book is actually, let's see how many pages, 693, and this is a highly recommended book for me. It is The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. This book is huge. Like, it's like Priory of the Orange Tree size. But like I said, I've heard really great things about it, and I figured it was time to just sit down and read it, get it out of the way, see what I think of it, because people keep recommending it to me. I am very excited to read it. I think that from what I've heard from the series, because like I said, I try to avoid a lot of spoilers, it does have a lot of magic in it, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a more heavy fantasy book that I can kind of read throughout the month, not necessarily just sit down and read in like a day or a couple of days. I want something to carry me consistently through the entire month, and I don't know if you guys are like that. I do enjoy books that kind of take a journey with you and you spend a lot of time with, and it's been a while since I read a hefty-ass book like this, so I think it is time for me to sit down and finally get around to reading it. I saw it at the library and was like, wow, it's fate. I need to grab it. So this will be one of the books that I am reading for the month of April that I'm the most excited for, because I just want a big hefty book in my life for the month of April. Now I'm going to get to the books that I have on my Kindle that I have actually borrowed from the library. I do have a few. These are ones that I'll probably be reading towards the beginning of the month and kind of in concession as I read everything else. The first book that I have, let's see, would be The Kiss Quotient. I have been seeing this everywhere and people really enjoy it. If I'm not mistaken, this does actually have a good amount of rep in it. I believe it's autistic rep, but I could be completely wrong. Like I said, I'll leave links to all of these books down below. But it is a book that I have heard a lot of really great things about, and I don't know anybody who hasn't liked it, honestly. If you are one of the few who didn't like it, let me know down below why you didn't without giving me too many spoilers. The next book that I'm going to be reading from my tablet is Crazy Rich Asians. I have heard, once again, phenomenal things about this book. They obviously loved it enough to make it into a movie. I've heard great things about the movie. This just seems like a story that I really need to read. A lot of these books that are on my Kindle are books that I've just heard are really fantastic, so I know pretty much absolutely nothing about them. But The Kiss Quotient, or not The Kiss Quotient, Crazy Rich Asians, I know is about a woman who falls in love with a man. He ends up being completely rich and she has to deal with his like really ridiculous family, and it's very funny, and you know, it's got like love in it, and it sounds fun, and I need something to kind of break up the more heavier content that I'm reading this month. And the next book that I have here is One Day in December. I've heard really good things about this as well. This is a book that I saw floating around in the winter months, I think, on BookTube, and a lot of people were reading it because obviously One Day in December, like, it's like a perfect like Christmassy kind of read. But I had to wait for my hold from the library to come in, so I'm just now getting to it. I don't know a lot about it. The only thing I know about it is I think it takes place in London. So I do like London as a setting, and I feel like I would really appreciate London as a setting in like a romance kind of way. I know it's like a contemporary book, and it really piqued my interest just from hearing everybody gush about it. I've been fortunate enough to avoid spoilers for it, even watching everybody's like contemporary-a-thon vlogs and like, you know, the Christmas vlogs and stuff that people were reading it. I was able to avoid spoilers because I knew eventually I would want to read it. And the very last book that I have for the month that I want to read, it was actually sent to me by a subscriber, and it would be Heretics Anonymous. I've actually already started reading this. I think like 4 or 5% of the way through it on my Kindle. And the reason why I think she sent this to me is because it has a lot of humor that's similar to Neanderthal Opens the Door to the Universe. So a lot of self-deprecating, a lot of sass. I love books like that, so it's like right up my alley. What this follows is our main character goes to a brand new school. It's like a Catholic school. His parents and him move around a lot because his dad does have like a more high profile job, and he kind of goes where the work is. And our main character is already pissed off from the get-go because his dad promised that they wouldn't be doing this again. They'd be staying in a more, you know, like that all their high school, he'd be able to go to the same school. And his dad's boss actually gets him a place at this really prestigious like Catholic school, and he's not Catholic and he doesn't believe in God. And you know, he's just trying to like find his way and figure out where he fits, obviously, in this place that's completely foreign and alien to him, and not really somewhere that he wants to be. So for me, it just sounds like something that I'm really going to like. So I did already start this. I'm hoping to get a good bit of it read, like just like the first couple of days of April, and today being the 2nd, hopefully I'm gonna get a lot of it read tonight. But I think that is probably it for my TBR. I don't even know how many books that is. Like I said, I tried to pick a good mix of manga and comics and books that I own and big fantasy books and contemporary. I'm at the point where I want to read like everything. I want to consume everything. I want to get out there and read as much as I can of different genres and different types, which brings me to, let me know down below a book you have read that isn't spoken about a lot that you wish more people would focus on. Like for me, Neanderthal Opens the Door to the Universe, I think is a gem. I think that a lot of people are kind of turned off because it's contemporary, and it's one of those books where I feel like a lot of people are really missing out on something fantastic. So let me know down below a book that you never see talked about, that you wish was talked about because it touched you in one way or another. It was something that was either really funny and fast-paced and you really enjoyed it, or it was hard-hitting and really means a lot to you in a way. Let me know, because I do want to just, and it could be of any genre, because I just want to experience all books and not just the books that are talked about a lot on like BookTube or Bookstagram, or, you know, like, because like, for example, last month, everybody and their mom was reading Priory of the Orange Tree, and it was suffocating to me that every single time I got on Twitter, it was like we were all reading the same thing. And that's not bad per se, but I wanted to branch out. I want to like try new stuff. I want to talk about stuff that not everybody's talking about, in the way, like, talk with you guys about stuff that not everybody's talking about. So if you have a book that you truly love that you never see talked about, let me know in the comments down below. But that's going to be it for this video. The only other 2 books that I don't have on my TBR, because I don't know if they're still happening as reads, was like Me Before, what is it called? Anyway, it's the new book by Preston Norton. I'll leave a picture of it here on the screen. I'm also reading this, but it is an arc and I'm trying to make my way through it, but I'm kind of taking my time with it, and I don't know if that's going to be something that I finish this month. I don't know, you know, because I really want to absorb it, because Preston is one of my favorite authors, so I'm trying to really take my time with that. So I didn't want to put that on an official TBR. The other book that I'm reading, I'll put a picture here if I can find a cover of the book, would be Everlasting Rose, which is the book that follows the bells. I'm actually buddy reading this with Lauren, so I will list her channel down below at the very top of my down bar, the novel Lush. Her and I are buddy reading this, and I just watched her TBR, and she was like, we're reading this book, and I was like, no, we're not, we're reading a completely different book. So that's why I didn't put this on the TBR, because I need to figure out exactly what book Lauren and I decided we were going to read together, because I don't want to be reading a completely wrong book. But I am going to be reading Everlasting Rose, whether that makes it into my TBR this month because Lauren and I are reading it, or it makes it into my TBR like next month, or, you know, whatever. I didn't want to add that. So those are the other 2 like extra books that I have that I don't know when I'm necessarily going to be getting around to, but are somewhere on my TBR. Like, I am going to be periodically reading them, but I don't really have plans on finishing them, and, you know, whatever. It makes sense. You guys have been here. But now that's it. That's going to be it for this video. I love you guys a lot. I need a big cup of coffee, and then actually really what I need is a nap. But either way, I love you guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and think about subscribing. Once again, let me know down below a book that you wish had more hype so that I can get around to reading it. I love you immensely, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!